Alright, so welcome back. So for this video, I'm actually going to be talking about my favorite merchants from the Dale of Merchants games I've gotten thus far. And one thing you'll notice, the first one here has the Dice Tower Seal of Excellence on it for Dale of Merchants, the first one. And the second one also has the Seal of Excellence for the second Dale of Merchants 2. However, there is no Seal of Excellence for Dale of Merchants 3. But strangely enough, out of all three sets here, the third one is my favorite set. This is my favorite. I went through my top 10 favorite merchants from Dale of Merchants altogether, out of the three sets I have. And the majority, the ones that had the most from a particular set, was actually from here, Dale of Merchants 3. So, and then only 3 made it from each of these expansions out of my top 10. So that means 4 are from this one. So that's really cool, right? So, but obviously, I think I'd have to say Dale of Merchants 2 is probably my second favorite of the Dale of Merchants games, with Dale of Merchants 1 being my favorite, being my least favorite of the 3. Now, of course, there's still the Dale of Merchants collection out there, so there's a possibility that once I get that, this will change everything, especially even my top 10 merchants. Who knows? But for now, until I get the last one, I figured I'd just go ahead and do my favorites thus far. So let's go ahead and start by showing you number 10. So my number 10 is the Adapting Veiled Chameleons. They're my number 10. And you would think that probably all of the reptiles would be higher up on the list, and most of them are. But this one just barely made it to the 10 list. Now, these guys are definitely for more advanced players. They're definitely more of a thinker. You definitely have to plan out your strategy a little bit more with these adapting veiled chameleons, because they have the ability to change cards or adapt and camouflage other cards and stuff like that, and change numbers and on the cards to something else, or change even literally the colors themselves with other merchant colors as well. There's a lot going on with these guys for sure, but they're definitely a lot of fun to play with nonetheless, after you get past the fact that they change with other cards, and the fact that they're definitely for more advanced players. They're not necessarily the best cards for a beginner. In fact, I would never play, especially now that I've got 3 of the sets for Dale of Merchants, I would never put these guys intentionally in a game with anybody who is new to Dale of Merchants, just because these guys are so more complex than some of the other sets. They're still not the most complex set out there, but they come pretty close to being definitely one of the most complex out there. And what's my favorite card in this particular set? I would have to say the gift voucher is probably one of my favorites. You get to swap this card with any card in the market and place the new card into your hand. That's pretty cool. The gift voucher is definitely cool. I think I'd have to say that's probably my favorite of them all, is that one there. So that's the Veiled Chameleons. So that's my number 10. Okay, my number 9. Here's my number 9. These guys from the third set, the Superstitious Snowshoe Hares. I really love playing with these guys. I love rolling the dice for some of these cards, and the possibilities are really cool. They're really easy to understand, and even though there's still some semblance of luck involved with these cards, it's not hard to understand. Some of the other animals, some of the other merchants that also work with the dice, like these ocelots, for instance, and these polecats here, they work with dice too, but there's a little bit more going on with these. They're a little bit harder to understand, and and they're not as fun to play with. If you ask me, when it comes to rolling the dice, for these, there's just a lot more fun going on, because you're just not sure what you're going to get. And then the possibility of getting to re-roll the dice if you want to, for a better Opportunity. Huh, that's really cool. None of the other two don't have that ability, of course. So I really like that. What's my favorite one? Well, my favorite one that doesn't have the dice involved is Bad Omen here. You get to draw 3 cards from your deck. You get to throw away one, and then you get to place, the rest back in any order. The one with the dice, though, I'd have to say my favorite is probably actually the one that you can only play one time. I like Celestial Guidance probably the most because you get to search your deck for a possibility of either or your discard pile. So you get to do one or the other, or possibility of nothing, obviously. So that's kind of interesting. I like that. Sorry. But I think I also probably like, let's see here. Let's see. So I like Bad Omen because of that ability. But I'd have to say Festival is probably the funnest for sure. Because the possibility of getting a card from the market deck, that's really cool. So Festival is my favorite. And then it would be Bad Omen. And then Celestial Guidance and Arcane Scholar. So yeah, this is just a really fun set. I really enjoy playing with this set. So that's my number 9. Okay, so what is my number 8? So my number 8 is actually these guys here. The Scheming Green Magpies. So this is definitely more of an interaction going on with these cards. This is more of an aggressive deck for sure. But they're not the most aggressive there is. They come close, though, but they're not the most aggressive. They're not the least most aggressive either, though. So what do I like about these guys, besides the fact that there's a lot of interaction going on? I like the possibility of guessing your opponent's card and getting it right. That is so fun. Looking at your opponent's hand, or guessing the top card of your opponent's deck, and then if you get it right, you get to take their card. That is cool. Of course, the chances of you getting it right are still slim, but that's the fun part. That's the fun part. Guessing and trying to determine that. That is a lot of fun to try to do that. Your opponents might not like you for it, that you get to take their card, but the fact of the matter, because you don't automatically get to take their card, that you have to guess it, it's fun for them, because especially it's in their hand and you pick a random card from their hand and you have to guess what it is, they're smirking, thinking, oh, let's see if he gets it right. Let's see if he gets it wrong. And, and then they're like, haha, you got it wrong. But that was fun. That was fun nonetheless, The most aggressive card, of course, is this one, which just automatically lets you throw away one random card from your opponent's hand. They will probably hate this one the most because of that, because it's a guaranteed throwaway of a card. Of course, if the card you randomly choose is a junk card, well, then they'll be at least happy with that you got rid of one of their junk cards. They'll be more than happy to lose that, for sure. But other than that, that's probably the most aggressive card in this set, and it's still only one card in the whole set that is truly aggressive. So that's my number 8, the Scheming Green Magpies. All right, my number 7. What is my number 7? My number 7 is the Hoarding Flying Squirrels. So these guys are pretty cool because they can mess with stacks. They can, like, for instance, when you build a stack with this card, you may immediately build another stack in your stall. That is cool. And so another set in your stall or another stack in your stall, whatever you want to call it, that is really cool. You get to build 2 stacks in one turn with this Winter is Coming card. That is cool. There's only one of those, but still, that's a really cool card nonetheless. I really like that one a lot. But that's not the only one that messes with the stack. This one does too. You can, when you build a stack with this card, you may include cards from any Animal Folk set. That is cool. I like that one a lot too. And so that's what's so great about playing with the squirrels, is they can make it easier to build stacks in your stall to complete the game much sooner. That is really cool. So this is why the squirrels here made it to my number 7. Okay, what is my number 6? We're halfway through it now. So here's my number 6. The Cunning Neighbor. The friendly the friendly Fennec Foxes. These guys are the most aggressive in the entire game of Dale of Merchants 3. I don't know about the collection, so it's possible there's one in there that's more aggressive than these guys. But so far, these are the most aggressive. In fact, if a player is very adamant about not playing with a lot of attack cards, these guys would definitely be the ones you want to keep out of the game, for sure. They are the most devious, because their cards look like possibility of being friendly. Like, for instance, charity. That's friendly, right? Donating to charity. That's a very friendly thing to do, right? Cheer. That's a very friendly thing to do. Ooh, a raffle. People like raffles, right? That's friendly. Ooh, we got a nice tea set here. But ooh, there's rumors. Rumors are horrible, right? Starting a rumor is a very bad thing, correct? So that's not very nice, right? Tasters. Ooh, that could be very nice as well. But on closer inspection of charity, you get to take a random card from each player's hand, choose one of them to give back into each player's hand. So you're taking cards from other players, and you're mixing them up, and you're looking at them, and you're like, here, you take that one, you take that one, you take that one. They're probably not necessarily going to get the same card that was taken back. That's charity for you. And so, obviously, that is not a very nice card, for sure. Of course, some players might think it's okay because, hey, they got a better card than the other player. But still, there's going to be somebody who's going to get the bottom of the barrel with charity. And so that's not a very nice card. And so these cards, they have the look of something that makes you feel like they're going to do something nice. But it turns out they're horrendous. There is definitely a scheme going on here. These guys are definitely the biggest con artists there is in this game. So don't be fooled by friendly Fennec Foxes. These guys are still, though, one of my favorites. And that's why they made it as number 6 of my favorite merchants of Dale of Merchants. Okay, so what is my number 5? Here's my number 5. The Steady Achievers. The Diligent, Pale-Throated Sloths. These guys are my number 5. So what do I like about these guys? Well, besides the fact that they're sloths, and I do like sloths, you get to do a variety of different things. Like, for instance, at the start of your turn, you can choose a card from the market and place it into your hand. Well, that is cool. At the start of your next turn. Now, that's the thing about sloths. They're very slow at what they do, right? And so a lot of the stuff they do is actually going to affect on your next turn. They're going to do something awesome on your next turn, which is really interesting. I like that aspect of sloths, of getting to do something on your next turn. That's really cool. And so that's what you get to do with that one, for instance. Let's see here. At the start of your next turn, you may search your discard pile for a card and place it into your hand. That's cool. Of course, there's other cards that do that, but the fact that you're doing it on your next turn is interesting, right? Siesta. So there's a lot of interesting things going on with these merchants, for sure. For this one in particular, especially. And the whole fact that some of these cards have a delayed reaction effect, they affect your next turn, that's really cool. I like that. And so that's why the Sloths made it as my number 5, the Diligent, Pale-Throated Sloths. All right, so what's my number 4? Well, here it is. It's from Dale of Merchants 3, the Prepared Grizzled Tree Kangaroos. This is my 4th favorite. I love the aspect of storing cards. It's similar almost to what the Sloths do. But these guys, they store cards. They set them aside. You get to store cards from your deck, from your discard pile, etc., etc. And you get to set them aside and put them into your hand on your next turn. That's really cool. My favorite card probably is Wheelbarrow here. You get to draw a card from your deck and store it. At the start of your next turn, you can either throw it away or you can either throw away the stored card, or you can place it into your hand. That's probably my favorite in the set. That's really cool. It gives you the option to throw away the card if it's a bad card, or if it's a good card, you get to put it in your hand. That's an awesome decision. I like that. That's really cool. And so a lot of these cards are really awesome. I don't think I have an issue with any single one of these. I love all of these cards in this set, and that's really cool. I like storing cards. It's definitely an interesting aspect, and it's a unique aspect to Dale of Merchants. There is no other like it, that lets you store cards, except for maybe the collection. Like I said, I don't have the collection, so maybe there's one in there that does it. But for so far, it's the most unique for sure. So this one is my number 3. The intimidating Dwarf Crocodiles. These guys are my third favorite. Now, these guys get a bad rep because they seem aggressive because they're intimidating Dwarf Crocodiles, right? They seem aggressive, and then all opponents discard 2 cards from their decks one by one. That's aggressive, right? They get a bad rep. In fact, they get such a bad rep, they make the Fennec Foxes look actually friendly. At least when you look at the two of them, people are going to think these guys are more aggressive than these guys, for sure, any day of the week. And so these guys get a bad rep, but at least you know these guys are going to be somewhat aggressive. These guys are going to throw you for the loop. Everyone's going to be like, oh, look at the cute fox. Let's choose the cute little fox to put in the game. And they're going to be like, what the... Yes, that's what's going to happen. They're going to think the fox is the friendly little fox, and then they're going to realize that they were dead wrong, literally. And that's why I like these guys a whole lot more, because even though they get a bad rep, they're not as vicious and violent and crafty and devious as the other animal folk in the same expansion. Those friendly Fennec Foxes, of course. But another thing I like about these guys, even though they have a lot of cards that seem nasty when they're played, some of them are intentionally at least trying to help you out. Like, for instance, they sell some crutches, you know? We've got some crutches here, you know? This is the item they're selling. Yes, they're going to bully you, you know, but they're also going to give you some crutches in the process, you know? They're going to bully you up, but then they're going to, you know, give you something to make you feel better, and then they're going to come at you again. But yes, you know, that's something interesting for sure. But they're not nearly as nasty, and because I like crocodiles so much, that's why these guys made it to my number 3. Plus, I love interaction, and attacking in deck-building games is usually the best form of interaction with other players. So that's why these guys made it to my number 3. Okay, so what's my number 2? My number 2 is the Archiving Desert Monitors. Man, it was a really hard decision, because I really like these a lot. I almost picked these as my number 1. But that means there's one I like more than these guys, just slightly better. Now, obviously, I picked them. Another reason because I picked them is because they're a reptile. But I really like how you play with these cards. The merchant themselves, they get to decide the value, making cards cheaper at the beginning of the game. I love that. That's really cool. The fact that you can discard 1 card from your hand once per turn means you get to increase you get to draw an extra card on your next for your next turn. That's really cool. I like that. Especially if you can't utilize all your cards. That's very helpful. Searching your deck, you may throw away a card from there, and then you get to shuffle a deck. That's awesome. That's an easy way of getting rid of junk cards. That's extremely useful. And so there's a lot of cards in here that are extremely useful and helpful. And I like that. This is going to help thin your deck out for sure. It's also going to help get rid of some cards that are sitting in your discard pile, out of your discard pile, that you're not going to use. And it's also going to help you buy cards. It's going to make them cheaper. And so this is definitely why this was chosen as my number 2, because it is one of the funnest to play with. And it's definitely the easiest and definitely the most beginner-friendly, for sure. Okay, so what's my number 1? My number 1 is the Snappy Scarlet Macaws. This one made it to my most favorite list. There's a lot going on with these guys. You can discard your hand with them, for instance, and then draw as many cards from your deck and place them to your hand. I like that. So let's say you have some really good cards sitting in your deck, and your hand is full of junk cards. You've got this in your hand. Discard all those junk cards. Draw all those good cards. Oh, that's awesome. Love that. There's a card in here that also increases your hand size limit by 1. So if you have cookies in your hand, you don't even have to show players you have cookies in your hand. You just get to increase your hand size limit by 1 just by having it in your hand. That's awesome. Spyglass is cool too. Draw 3 cards from your deck. You place 1 into your hand, and then you put the rest back in any order. And yes, there's other cards that do that, but the fact that it's in this set with some other really good cards is also awesome. How about throw away a card from your hand and then draw a card from your deck and place it into your hand? That's really cool. Get rid of a junk card with Shattered Relic. That's an awesome card. And so there's a lot of really cool cards in this set, and these are still definitely my most favorite to play with. If I was to play a game, I'd want to play with this set in almost every game. Or at least this set or the next one, for sure. Either the Desert Monitors or these guys, I would definitely want in each game, because this is the funnest, one of the funnest sets to play with. And so this was why this made it to my number one, the Snappy Scarlet Macaws. And so that is my favorite set in Dale of Merchants 2. Now, really quickly, there are actually considered, there's actually, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's actually 9 more that I have that didn't make the top 10 whatsoever. So what would be next on the list? What would be number 11? We won't talk about them in detail, but this would be number 11. The Thieving Northern Raccoons. That would be 11. Then it would be the Observant Snowy Owls. That would be 12. 13 would be the Sharing Short-Beaked Echidnas. That would be number 3. Or should I say that would be 11, 12, 13. So that would be 13. The Lucky Ocelots would be 14. The Experimenting Platypuses, they would be 15. And the Reckless Marbled Polecats would be, let's see, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. This would be 16. So then, obviously, there's still a few more. There's obviously still a few more, and I actually couldn't decide with the last 3 of how I would rate them. So I would have to say these are the bottom of the barrel. These 3 here are definitely the bottom of the barrel. And each of them come from each come with one of the expansions. So that just goes to show you that even though I picked Dale of Merchants 3 as my favorite expansion, they're all really good expansions, and they're all at least going to have one card that you might not like, but the majority of them are all really fun to play with. For some reason, I didn't like playing with these guys that much. These guys are definitely for more advanced players. They're really hard to play with. And these guys, they're not hard to play with, but they're just not that interesting to play with. There's a couple cards in here that are really cool, yes. In fact, this one is the coolest card there is, probably in the whole expansion of Dale of Merchants 3. This is probably the coolest card. But if this is the only card and only one player is going to get to play with this one card out of all of these cards, it just doesn't really cut the mustard. It just doesn't really make it into a higher priority of wanting to play with because of one particular card out of all of them. I'm not going to rate it just on one card, the entire set of any particular animal folk here. But still, awesome expansions to play with. So that's my number 10 favorite cards in the game, and obviously these are the bottom of the barrel. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys again next time.